My dad cheated on my mum before she died, married his mistress, and said my mum was a waste of time. My mum died of a brain aneurysm 2 years ago. She was 39 at the time. She and my dad, Ben, 42, were no longer together before she died because Dad had an affair with his work colleague, Amanda, 37. They were getting a divorce, but my mum died before it was finalized. I was 18 when my mum died, and to be honest, I resented my dad because of the heartache he caused my mother, and I blamed him for her death. After Mum's funeral, I refused to talk to him until recently he contacted me and we started to reconnect. He and Amanda are still together, and I've started to accept their relationship because I saw how happy my dad was with her. Last month, Dad informed me that he and Amanda had gotten engaged, and he wanted to let me know first before he shares the news to everyone. I told him I'm happy for them. Last week, they had an engagement party where they invited some of our relatives and friends. During the toast, Dad said something like, "I just can't wait to marry the perfect woman. I thank God for giving me the love of my life after all those years I wasted with someone else." I walked out of the room after hearing what my father said. He basically considered his marriage to my late mother a waste of time. It broke my heart and I wanted to leave right away. But my dad's friend, my godfather, and Amanda followed me. Amanda said that my dad wants me to give a message, but I told her I can't do that and I need to go as I feel sick. My godfather tried to convince me to stay and say a few words, but eventually I got tired of just holding in my anger and I said, "I have no good words to say about my cheating father and his mistress. I need to go." Amanda got angry with me and called me a massive butthole and said I need to get over the past. I didn't even say anything, I just left them behind. I was with my boyfriend who picked me up when my dad called and he was furious with me. Apparently what I said made Amanda cry and he's now demanding an apology. He's also accused me of ruining his engagement party. I told him I could have made a scene, but I didn't, and there's no way I'm apologizing for stating facts. Am I the jerk? Did I overreact and ruin their party? My boyfriend said he understands how I feel, but my grandparents, Dad's side, are disappointed with me for overreacting and calling Amanda a mistress. How does your dad not understand why you would react that way when he talked about your mother and by extension you in that way? Because he indirectly called you a waste of his time as well. How else were you meant to react? I might have felt bad for you calling Amanda that word, but she was apparently just as inconsiderate about your feelings on the matter as he was. Telling a 20-year-old to get over the still fairly recent death of their mother and the scorn shown to her by the man who was cheating on that mother is just so callous. I'd say you exhibited remarkable forgiveness and an open heart leading up to that point, so it feels, if nothing else, absurdly insensitive to just rip the band-aid off and pour a whole bunch of personal insult onto the wound at the same time. I wonder if anyone else at the party was mortified by your dad's choice of words. You'd think that if any of them had been friends with your mum, then there would have been at least some ill will towards him. Screw the others in your social circle who expect you to pretend to be happy after hearing something like that. You're not the jerk. I hope your dad realizes what an absolute idiot he's behaved like. Slumlord won't let the company out of a 5-year lease. I get the building condemned. To start us off, this is about the company I work for and a trip I had to take because I had to wire a building for a computer network because the building owner wouldn't. As a bit of backstory, our company was moving a remote site to a new building. As the IT guy for the company, I was asked to look at the new building and get network ports marked out. The landlord refused to put in any low-voltage lines and we got quotes, but they were thousands of dollars. So enter me, my car, and 4 boxes of Cat 6 plenum. It's about an 8-hour drive and I was doing about 30 drops. Not a ton, but still a few days' work in some place that's already built up. And it's drop ceiling with insulation on top. Messy, itchy work. Day 1, we get there Monday morning at the start of the month. It's actually a cool summer morning, and we're from further south, so no one notices the AC not working for about an hour. Slowly, the building begins heating up. It gets to 80 by noon, 85 at 3 p.m. The rooms with floor-to-ceiling windows are greenhouses. It's completely miserable. We've been told by the workers still on site that the leasing company was told there was no AC in our building 3 weeks ago. The other thing is that there are still workers on site. The building isn't even completed. So much for being ready for a handover on day 1. On day 2, we were getting agitated. It's 80 degrees in the morning when we first walk in. It's sweltering. The other guy that came up with me is the facilities manager. He's screaming at people over the phone to fix the fricking AC. We're all exhausted from the heat by 3 p.m. I found a 4-foot hole in the ducting when I opened the ceiling tile. The AC was blowing, but there was no cold air. We are told the compressor is broken. Day 3 is more of the same, miserable in the morning. I'm finally getting the last lines punched in on the patch panel. The AC guys arrive at about 10 a.m. They finally fix the unit at 2 p.m. We asked them what they did. They said, a lot of things. We again asked, but what did you do? And the reply was, we can't tell the tenants. That's a massive red flag alert. We contacted our realtor and she said she'd look into what was done. She sends an email later that night that says they changed the refrigerant from R22 to R410A. I tell the facilities guy, no way, dude. That's like putting gas in a diesel motor. They'd have to change out the entire system. They didn't do that in 4 hours. They basically duct taped and WD-40'd that thing back together, and it'll run poorly for a month or so, then give out, and we'd be stuck having to pay for a replacement. Day 4, still no running water to some areas, still some workers on site, and the AC can't keep up with the noonday sun, and it still hits around 80 by the end of the day. And that's with the AC running continuously. We're packing up all the stuff we moved in and preemptively moving out. I noticed all the fire sprinklers look like they've moved and the metal protection around the drop tile has fallen to the floor. The sprinklers are no longer protruding from the tiles in places, and in others, they're quite a bit lower than they were. Yep, looks like the AC idiots stood on the fire sprinklers to fix their lousy ductwork. We're looking for a friendly way out. We contact the landlord and say, you haven't delivered a finished building. We're moving out. The lease is broken. The landlord has a 36-page lease. The landlord won't let us out of the lease because it's 5 years. This is not starting off well. We get in contact with the corporate lawyer and the realtor, and they both agree we're kind of screwed. We're desperate for any way out. I start looking at the fire system. I used to run all kinds of low-voltage lines, fire, security, among other things. There's no fire panel in our portion of the building. No smoke detectors are hooked up to anything. That's some more red flags. One of our employees that was moving the heavy gear says, oh yeah, I meant to mention, I never saw any building permits anywhere. Ding ding ding. They did this build-out, including demolition, running new plumbing and power lines and destroying the fire system, without a city permit. Cue the call to city inspector's office. Day 5, I wasn't here for this part, but the facilities manager told me this. The city inspector pulled the permits for the building. There weren't any. He finds multiple violations of city code, red-tagged our area and removed the certificate for occupancy. When I told him to check the fire system like you said, he just goes, oh no, I have to make a call, and he calls the fire marshal. 3 days later, fire marshals arrive on scene. They find no active alarm system in our portion of the building. Red tag. Find the sprinkler riser for the entire building in our area. No water pressure. He condemned the entire building. We were told later that one of the people who owned the property also worked for the property management company. My thoughts are he was getting licensed contractors out to his place on the side and told them he'd give them contracts to their entire portfolio if they did him a favor. I could be wrong, but this is some scummy level 9000 stuff. Basically, they wouldn't let us out of the building because we'd signed a lease, even though they never delivered a building in any semblance of working order. We called the building inspector, got him smoked, who then called the fire marshal, who condemned the entire building. They're still trying to fight us over it, but we're pushing for them not only refunding our deposit and the rent, which they've already done, but for all the time spent moving gear in and out and all the wiring. Our lawyer says they won't have a leg to stand on, and he's happy for them to pay his fees as well. Wow. I know that these kind of scumbags are usually super prevalent in living space tenants versus landlord stories, but you have to be a special kind of stupid to try and get away with this sort of crap against medium to large companies. Those guys have the resources and lawyers to come after you and not just get out of their contracts, but make you pay everything back with a vengeance for wasting their time. Landlords and lawyers, two groups I don't particularly love, but cases that can be fun to watch when the more awful of the two parties gets destroyed in the smackdown. I can imagine that in a case like this, where the opponent was just so blatantly in the wrong, the lawyer would have had dollar signs for eyes and gold bars for teeth on his grinning mug. A fun point about what was likely the final nail in the coffin, my friends in the US have told me that fire marshals have the power to actually kill buildings and companies stone dead if their rules aren't obeyed. They nearly shut down a Microsoft office for not having parking buildings up to code, until that same company shelled out millions to get them fire engines that could enter said parking building. My point is, if these particular officials can grab a mega company like that by the twig and berries, you can be sure that this landlord didn't stand a chance. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. A magnet will not stick to vaccine injection holes. Today, I, a 22-year-old woman, had my COVID-19 vaccine. When my mum got home, she took a magnet and tried to stick it to my vaccine arm without asking. When I asked, "What are you doing?" she said, "Just checking." Last night I was told it would have given me shingles, I would have heavy periods, I would be depressed to the point where I'd try and self-delete, and that I'm damaging a temple of God in my body. The Bible says you shouldn't have them, as it's changed your DNA. This evening I've been told if I have any symptoms after, then they were right. I have asthma, meaning I have a cough, which has always been the case. So I've now been told that I have COVID and I'm going to hurt them and other people. I am why it's still spreading. I'm not allowed to talk about the vaccine as it will annoy my mum's husband, whilst he walks around saying vaccinated people are brain damaged and all going to hell for having them. When I do talk about it, I'm told I shouldn't try to change their minds as they don't try to change mine. My mother has since argued how she's raised me to be better, and betraying what she believes and wants is a sign I don't appreciate my upbringing and I'm disrespecting her. My mum is an amazing woman and she's treated me so well and been the best mum I could ask for. Just a little crazy on the side, and that makes life interesting. Do you think she's the jerk, though? You know, the narrator in his time on the planet has actually read through Ye Olde Good Book more than once, and I can tell you that if there's any part of that particular religious text detailing how vaccines change your DNA, I must have missed them on every read-through. Could it possibly be that there's no such section? Come on, people, at least read the text that you're using as a life guideline. I'm not against religion, but you have to actually ponder and do more active thinking in your personal faith, rather than just listening to crazy preachers. You're quite defensive about your mum, and I'm sure she thinks that she means well, but I wouldn't blame you for keeping a lot of stuff from her if she's going to react like this to normal healthcare and social practices. No, I'm not going to risk my job because you want an obscene amount of cereal. I work at a supermarket, and one of our regular customers is a woman who comes in with just her 2 kids and buys an absolutely obscene amount of cereal whenever it's on sale. Now, when I say an obscene amount, I don't mean 10 to 20 boxes at a time. No, she's not here for math word problem level amounts of cereal. She comes in and buys anywhere from 50 to 300 boxes at a time. Her and her kids usually come to the backroom door with 3 shopping carts and ask for 9 to 15 cases of cereal, depending on how much we have left in stock. She's been denied service a few times, like the time she tried to buy an entire pallet of cereal, 5 boxes per transaction, the day before Thanksgiving. Management cut her off after 18 transactions, totaling 90 boxes, because her order was holding up the lines for 3 out of our 7 operational registers. 3 of the other ones were broken at the time. The stock department manager absolutely despises this and has told the woman on multiple occasions that if she's going to purchase more than 3 cases of cereal, she has to call a few days before she comes in so he can order extra cereal, but she always claims that she won't know what she'll need until she comes and she refuses to follow his instructions. This happened to me on a Sunday when I was the only person working in my department. I'd just finished emptying the baler when Cereal Lady poked her head into the storage room. "Hey, could you get me some cereal?" she asked. I scanned our sale pallets and she said, "It's on the 2nd level of the scaffolding." The scaffolding she was talking about is the same kind of scaffolding you'd see at a wholesale club like Costco, Sam's Club or BJ's Wholesale. So I told her, "Unfortunately, I can't get that down for you. I'm not authorized to use the equipment needed to get that down." She then asked, "Is there anyone who can get that down for me?" And I responded, "Unfortunately, I'm the only one at the moment. The full-timer who normally works alongside me on Sundays has the day off." She sighed and asked, "Could you just do it for me this one time?" And I responded with, "No, I'm not authorized to use the machine needed to get that down." And she said, "Seriously? You can't just do it this one time?" And I told her, "No, I can't do it this one time. I'm not allowed to use the machinery, nor do I know how to use it. If I get caught using that equipment, I won't only lose my job, but I could potentially face legal trouble and steep fines should I damage something or injure myself. She huffed and then went, "Fine, I'll just get the front-end manager. He'll do it for me." A few minutes later, the front-end manager walked into the storeroom with the woman in tow. He said, "Hey, are you authorized to use the power lift?" To which I responded, "Nope." So he asked, "Is the full-time co-worker here yet?" And I replied, "He's off today and my brother already left for the day. My brother works in the same department as me and is authorized to use the power pallet jacks." The front-end manager turns to Cereal Lady and said, "I'm sorry, but that product is unavailable for today. There's no one who can get that down." She then shrieked, "You're a manager and you can't get that down for me?" And the front-end manager responded with, "I wasn't trained on that equipment because this isn't my department and therefore I'm not allowed to operate it. You're gonna have to come back tomorrow if you want that." The Cereal Lady then stormed back to the cereal aisle without another word. I haven't seen her since that day, and my department manager has since started storing the cereal pallets on the same side of the storage room door so she can't poke her head in and demand 15 cases of cereal without calling a few days in advance. Are we being too strict? Are we the jerks here? Okay, before I get around to the juicy judgment that you're all no doubt waiting with bated breath for, can I just ask, what the frick is going on with this woman's life? Like, come on, author. Nobody's ever asked what she's doing with all this cereal, and why she's buying the cereal in 5-box transactions at a time? Because, sure, you've detailed the irritation and logistical madness that this woman is expecting, but much like with many instances in my life, I just have to ask, why? Even if this is overpriced bags of granola that have like 5 servings per bag, we're talking breakfast for thousands in every purchase here. And what vehicle is she putting it in? And where's she storing it when she gets home or to her business or whatever? There's just so much that we're glossing over here. This is going to be one of those stories that sticks in my head long after we launch it just because of its sheer absurdity alone. I will never stop pondering your purpose and existence, cereal hoarder lady. Oh, and she's the jerk, everyone. You're welcome. Today I messed up by thinking peanut butter was supposed to be spicy. Ever since I was a kid, I loved how peanut butter used to taste. Not only did it taste good, but it had this weird spice to it that wasn't like a chili peppers type spice, but wholly unique that I never tasted in other food. It was the perfect accent when mixed with jelly, as the spiciness and the sweetness went together perfectly. Sometimes I'd eat it too fast and have a bit of a hard time breathing, but I never thought anything of it. I also remember getting some weird looks a few times as a kid talking about spicy peanut butter, but I didn't think anything of that either. One day a few months ago, I was staying at my parents' house and went to make myself some lunch. I saw some peanut butter in the pantry, but no jelly since I was hungry. I slammed about an inch of peanut butter between 2 slices of bread and remember thinking, wow, this is the most peanut butter I've ever eaten at once. But then I got to work devouring my creation. Now, this is where the screw-up starts. A few bites in, I got that ate too fast feeling again, and I had to take a break to catch my breath. I started eating again and immediately got the ate too fast feeling again. Damn, it's going to take me forever to finish this sandwich, I thought. So I became determined just to power through and finish it no matter how uncomfortable it was. Big mistake. I made it to about the halfway point before I knew something was wrong. I felt simultaneously like there was a rock stuck in my windpipe and like someone had filled my lungs with peanut butter. Wheezing and struggling to breathe, it fricking hurt. The amount of time it took to take a full breath was causing me to panic, and I felt like I was trying to fill up a hot air balloon with a straw. I immediately started Googling heart attack symptoms, but they didn't really match up. I then Googled the symptoms themselves, and results of symptoms of allergic reactions started coming up. Some of the main symptoms were difficulty breathing, chest tightness, and wheezing. Then I scrolled further down and saw a section about things to watch out for in children, and the top one was, the child says their mouth feels hot, or that they say non-spicy food is spicy. Mine was mild enough to go unnoticed with small amounts and few snack peanuts here and there, but bad enough where I legitimately thought that sandwich was going to be my last meal for a couple of minutes. After a painfully long period of time, I started being able to breathe again, and suddenly all the weird looks I got from talking about spicy peanut butter made sense. Peanut butter wasn't spicy. I'd just been poisoning myself all these years. I now use peanut butter alternatives and mix my jelly with sweet Asian chili jelly. I pick it up from the store and it's just as good, but it doesn't almost kill me. Incredible. Apparently there are a great many people with allergies to a great many foods who've undertaken the same journey of discovery as you have. Search the word spicy and certain fruits and nuts and have your eyes opened as to how many of us just thought that everyone else was terrible at explaining the taste of food that we thought was spicy. I'll be delighted if this video enlightens a few of you who are unknowingly poisoning yourselves one sandwich or bit of fruit at a time. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.